Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to Norman's Education and Musical Instruments, our first ever webinar. Nice to see everyone there. I can see lots of attendees, some old names that we know from the past and the future. So nice to see you here. Like I said, it's our first ever one, so we'll do our best. And it's just a chance to introduce you today to a couple of the sort of the inclusive and accessible musical instruments on the market. And so there'll be questions at the end of each little presentation. Like I said, at Norman's here, we've been supporting you all in music education for over 60 years. So it's our chance now to get in the modern times and host a webinar. So welcome. So today I'm going to introduce you to two wonderful instruments, Cosmo and Composer. Again, it's to, I can remember the early days of every child matters in the classroom. And obviously technology's moved on, so it's our chance to make it as inclusive as possible as per DFE guidelines. So the first person I'm going to introduce is going to be Eva from Cosmo. And like I said, if you just saw the earlier slide, that we're going to record this meeting, so I hope everyone's happy about that. So for your colleagues and other teachers around the country that have expressed an interest, at least we can sort of send them the video or make it available. So no further ado, can I please introduce you to Eva from Cosmo and her wonderful Cosmo equipment.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks for the introduction, and hopefully you can hear me well and you can see me as well. So yeah, I'm here with Cosmo, those shiny touch-sensitive buttons that you can use to play music in a very easy and accessible way. Yeah, it's great to be here. And what I do with Cosmo, so my role is head of community, but my experience before joining the company was working mainly with autistic students and students with different social and emotional difficulties. And that's sort of what I bring to the company, is that educational experience, speaking with community and making sure that we can address the key pain points that teachers and music therapists experience on a daily basis, and help making music making more accessible and more inclusive and more fun. So brilliant. So yeah, what is Cosmo? And I'm quickly going to share a presentation. It's not going to be very long, and I will have one video that I would like to show you that demonstrates how students play with our product. And then, as Nick said, we'll have a quick few minutes for questions as well. So let me share my screen, and hopefully it all works well and you can see my screen. So yeah, so what is Cosmo? So Cosmo is a combination of two main things. One thing are these interactive Bluetooth controllers. So they are very touch sensitive. They light up in different colors, as you can see here in the video. And they connect wirelessly to our Cosmo Training app, which is available on App Store, that has a collection of games and activities that help students work on making music and other physical and cognitive skills as well. So the way it works is that you just connect via the Bluetooth controllers via Bluetooth to the app. There's no need for pre-pairing or anything like that. The buttons light up in different colors, and you can simply press them to play different musical sounds, to follow light sequences, to, for example, work on memory skills and following sequences. And yes, there are lots of different activities that help you play your favorite music, to compose musical pieces, to record some sounds as well, to record your voices. You can use the Cosmoids as MIDI controllers to play music in GarageBand or ThumbJam, and it's that mix of hardware, interactive software, touch, color, sounds that is making that makes music making very engaging for students and very motivating. And apart from those music activities that you will be able to see in the video, we have lots of different activities that use that element of music to improve engagement and motivation for learning. So it's all principles of learning through play and sensory interaction with those activities, and social interaction as well, that can help students work on memory, attention, focus, but also motor skills like spatial awareness or coordinating movements, reaching to the buttons. So there are lots of different ways that students can interact with their peers, with teachers, with therapists, and through those activities and the hardware. Yeah, and what I would like to do is that I will stop sharing this for now, and I will share a very quick video. Bear with me. Okay, so I hope you can see Cosmo Activity Showcase.
Ah, I feel that Eva's bandwidth has failed us. We thought this may happen, running the clips. Well, hopefully she'll come back online and back in to replay it. Personally, we've had some training with Eva, and it, you know, of all the different activities. It's the same with what you'll see later as well, the composer. This technology, it's not just about the buying the equipment, the technology itself. It's the support and the teacher activities and apps you get with it as part of the sort of the deal as such. I know I am now going to sort of, I'm a trombonist, a jazz trombonist by trade. So I'm now going to do a bit of him. If Eva's not coming back in and for a time, I can just show you a little bit on myself about Cosmo. Where's it gone? Right, is that it? So I don't know if you can see this. So just to show you again, you get it when you've got your tablet and you get it all linked on. It's just the app, and you get all the activities and sort of teacher training with it. So you can do that there. I think, is Eva back now?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay, sorry, Eva.
That's all right. We've done plenty of those webinars, and there are always technical issues. Unfortunately, I think my video is crashing Teams, so I might not be able to share it. But Nick, perhaps I can try again, and if it kicks me out, then I will talk through it.
Okay.
Let me have a look. Okay, so I hope you can see it again. So this is how it works. At least you will be able maybe to see one video in case it crashes. So this is how it works. So the activities will be based on skill development, and they will be all very easy to, it's all plug and play, very easy to set up. So this is basically what you will see in the app. So Nick showed what the app looks like. So if you open any game, for example, improvisation, you will have very quick instructions. So in this game, you have to select an instrument. So you'll be able to play piano or guitar or some other instruments. And then you will be able to choose musical notation that you will match to different cosmoids of different colors. And then when you press play, you can simply tap the cosmoids and play different notes. So if you press one cosmoid, it will light up in purple and it will play sound D. If you press another cosmoid, it will light up in blue and it will play sound G. Through this activity, you can also connect cosmoids to external apps, for example, GarageBand or ThumbJam. And what you will do is that you will choose all the different settings from within the Cosmo app, from within the improvisation, and then simply open GarageBand in the background. And then the cosmoids will automatically connect to GarageBand so that you will be able to do a little bit more, play more instruments that may not be available in the Cosmo training app.
Ένα, δύο. Θυμάσαι ποια ήτανε? Και ένας εδώ.
Perfect. I will fast forward to some more music activities in a second, but I've mentioned some other activities that are available in the Cosmo training app that are for attention, concentration, movement, motor skills, and that's one of them. So here your task is to watch how the Cosmo devices light up, and then when the lights go off, you have to memorize the sequence and then press again to repeat the correct sequence. And then you get rewarded with audiovisual feedback to say that that was the correct response. And I will fast forward. Yeah. All right, that's another musical activity. It's called orchestration. This one is a little bit easier, simpler principle than improvisation. So here you can select from a bunch of different music tracks. So you can play some classical music, you could play some rock, jazz, salsa, all different music genres. And the way it works here is that all the different Cosmoids, when you press them, will play different loops. So if you press one Cosmoid, it will start playing cello. If you press another Cosmoid, it will start playing violin. If you press another Cosmoid, it will start playing drums, for example. So depending on the music genres, the more Cosmoids you press, the more instruments they will play. And all those instruments will form a sort of consistent musical piece. So you can work as a group. You can see here how you can have students sit in a circle and they will be working as a group. You can have one person who will act as the orchestra conductor. So that can be a teacher, that could be a different student. And they will be pointing to different students to indicate that, for example, Nick, I will point at you, and now it will be your turn to press your Cosmoid to start playing a specific instrument. So you can see how that music element can trigger learning different skills. So here you will be working on leadership skills, you will be working on attention, you will be working on following sequences, on waiting, taking turns. So lots of different things that you can practice here. Okay, so following on the same thread here, so the same thinking, using music to work on taking turns, for example. So here, the way this game works is that when you press play, you will see one Cosmoid that will light up in specific color. When you press that Cosmoid, it will trigger the music track to play for a couple of seconds, and you can customize this time depending on the attention span of your students. So you'll play music track for a couple of seconds, then the music track will pause, and then another Cosmoid will light up in a different color. When you move to the one that lit up, you press it, and that will trigger the music track to play for another couple of seconds, and then it will pause again, and you can press a different Cosmoid that lights up. So you are again working on taking turn skills, so students can work together and wait for their turn. You can work on spatial awareness as well, so you can position the Cosmoids across the room so that you will be incorporating movement as well. And I will fast forward to voice recording activity. Okay, and my voice lets students record their voices. So they will be recording with the iPad speaker. And then as they press each individual Cosmoids one by one, they will play those recording back with overlay of funky voice effects. So, so it's, again, learning through play and introducing some interactive fun elements to improve students' engagement. There are a couple of other musical activities, for example, Sampler, where you will also be recording voices with the iPad speaker, but you can record many different words. So if you imagine that you will have 6 of those devices in front of you, then you can record 6 different words and 6 different sounds. You can import your own sounds as well. So you can either create music or you can record words to learn sentence formation as well. And yeah, so that's the video, and I'm going to stop sharing, and I hope this won't crash this time. Okay, brilliant. And let me go back to the presentation. Okay, so I hope you can see my presentation. Perfect. Okay, so we initially designed Cosmo as an accessible musical instrument, and that was together with researchers from universities of Birmingham and Cambridge. And we published this research paper, and there will be a link to our website at the end of the presentation, so you can dive deeper if you'd like. But what we sort of tried to explore was how incorporating technology and music together, working with autistic students, can improve their engagement in learning, but also social or communication skills. So how often and how well students were communicating with each other and with the teachers, and how it helped them improve sensory regulation as well. And yeah, as I said, the more sort of full findings and research is available on our website if you'd like to explore more. And then in terms of how some organizations use it, so for example, Corbett's Taste School, they gave us some ideas around how they were using the orchestration activity, which you were able to see in the video, and one of our activity guides available for teachers in the app. So those are more structured plans focused on skill development for teachers. How they were using those activities to help students improve listening, collaboration, and self-confidence skills through music. So again, using that music element to practice different skills. And what they've observed is that using this game, students were able to work a little bit better with each other, and they were taking different roles. So some students were playing instruments, some students were using like makeshift batons to act as orchestra conductors. So it all promoted skill development and group work. Another example of organization is Artist Conservatorium. So this is an outside of the UK organization. They are based in Netherlands. And they explore how to use Cosmo and other music technology in neurological music therapy. So this is a publication they released a couple of years ago, Navigating Music Tech, where they give some ideas as to how you can include Cosmo and the improvisation, the orchestra and the sampler, the voice recording activity to in music-based therapy interventions. And yeah, well, this is I think Cosmo in a nutshell, and that's what I've prepared for today. So just a couple of quotes from our community as to how they've incorporated Cosmo in different environments. And yeah, so here's just the final slide with the link to our website, my email address, and the link to Norman's website where you can explore Cosmo offering, our social media as well. And I will just leave it, I think, maybe on share if you'd like to scan QR code, but then we can obviously provide the presentation to you afterwards as well. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Eva. Like I said, what we'll do as well on, you've got that link there to Eva's Cosmo website with the QR code. We'll also put a link on our website under our inclusivity tab for the videos, etc. And obviously, you can always email us as well. Eva, does anyone have any questions for Eva at all? Okay, Andrew, thank you. Look at this. This is just me. There is options though, Andrew. This is like a deluxe set. So you can buy a set of 6, comes with all the chargers, etc. That you can also buy them singly, and you still get the apps and things like that. Just to show you, they are very, very robust and sturdy. They can on the back be mounted. I believe they're M5 SKUs, so you can actually mount them onto wheelchairs or whatever scenario you'd want to. So is anyone else any other questions for Eva? Right, so the deluxe set, if I remember rightly off the top of my head, it can be discussed, but I believe I think it's just about £960 for that set of 6. But like I said at the start, and it's the same with the other technology you'll be hearing later, it's not just about the technology, it's about the support and the teacher support you get with it, the advice. so what they can achieve and do with these this technology is amazing. I say, me and my colleague Jack here, we've both had the sort of the sample set, and yeah, we've been engrossed by all of the technology. As far as questions goes, if anyone, say you've got our contact details here at Norman's, you've got Eva's there, and you'll also get Owain from Digit Music, his contact details as well. You can always send us an email if there's any questions you think about later. Anything you want, you can put in the chat, and if we don't get time to answer it today, then we can always get back to you, and we will get back to you. I'm just looking at some of the chats there. So yeah, so Simon, international schools. Is that, whereabouts are you? I can't see an issue being with that. Perhaps Eva could just tell me, as far as the charging goes, obviously, does it come with a sort of Euro socket?
Yes, it does come with different international adapters. So European definitely, and you charge it with mini USB cables. So we provide like 4-way charging cables so that you can charge 4 Cosmoids or 3 Cosmoids at once. So you don't have to like plug them individually.
Yeah.
There they are.
I could have just looked in the box.
Thank you, Nick. Like personal assistant. Yeah, perfect.
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Eva. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So now it's a chance for me to hand over to Owain from Digit Music and his brilliant piece of technology called Composer, but I'll leave it all up to the capable hands of Owain.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Nick. I mean, caveat, capable hands will see with Microsoft Teams, but let's give it a go. So thanks everyone for joining us today and taking time out your busy schedules. So my name's Owain. I'm going to take about 20 minutes to talk you through. You'll probably notice that there is another me on the screen as well. Apologies that I didn't put trousers on today. I should have thought about that, really, shouldn't I? But that will make a bit more sense in a minute when I show Composer off to you. So I'm just going to try sharing my screen, and hopefully, as long as Microsoft Teams is playing well, we should be good to go. So let me just try this. And if you can't see my screen in a second, if someone could just kindly let me know, because I'll obviously have to work out why. Okay, so hopefully you should be seeing something. Yep. Brilliant. Okay, so I always like to kickstart just when we're talking about things, because, you know, music education changes lives, but I think it's really important for us to remember, but it's only for those students that it reaches, and that's quite a profound thing. You know, music is one of the most inclusive things out there, but actually the roots into it can be very exclusive, and that's one of the things that we're trying to address as a company. So obviously, you know who I am. I'm Owain, but I also run the company along with another guy called Sai. And there's two parts of the company. We've got Digit Music, which is kind of the manufacturing side of the company, and we make accessible musical instruments and notation. And then there's Digit Learning, which is our music education focused part of the business. So myself and Sai have worked in the music industries, quote unquote, for about 30 plus years now. And that's been in the education technology spaces, but also we've worked as recording artists as well. So we've seen it kind of all from the whole 360 gamut as it is. Through our work, though, within education specifically over the 20 years, we recognised that there was a need for new routes into music so that more young people were included. And it became really profound to us on one project that we worked on called the Able Orchestra, where young people were being given iPads to engage with, and they were kind of getting along okay with them. But obviously, if you've got any kind of disability or dexterity impairment, actually an iPad can still be quite difficult to engage with effectively, and I think rewardingly as well, which is the important part about music. We all want to feel good when we're making music, so it's about trying to create the right tools to do that. So through our work in mainstream, and particularly actually in the SEND and pupil referral units that we've worked in over the years, we've developed and made digital music creation tools and accessible notation. And we've also worked alongside Youth Music and Arts Council to develop Composer, which I will show in a little bit more detail after I finish the slide, because I didn't work out how to share my audio and the slide at the same time. So what is Composer? Well, Composer is a music controller. It's really easy to use because it's a joystick-based music controller. That means that you can control it with upwards of one finger. Doesn't necessarily have to be a finger either. It can be a nose, can be an elbow, can be a foot, can be whatever part of your body you can get to it as well. You'll notice when I dig into it in a bit more detail shortly that as we look at the unit itself, it actually is compatible with a RAM mount as well. So any of you that are already working in the disability or inclusion space are probably very familiar with RAM mounts. The good thing about the mount is that you can actually position the controller to wherever the student, pupil, young adult needs it. So for us, when we're working with people that only work on the extremities, we can set it up like a switch, so we can attach it here. That means that someone can still play it from over here. But equally as well, it can be attached to a table or to a wheelchair. You'll notice that the design is very similar to a wheelchair joystick as well. That's deliberate. We worked a lot with disabled musicians throughout the Able Orchestra. All of them were in powered wheelchairs, and this is where kind of the design impetus came for it as well. But what does it do? Essentially, the best way to think about it is it does pretty much the same job as a piano or a MIDI keyboard. So it plays notes and chords by moving the joystick, and I'll dig into it and show you some sounds in a minute. And then by pushing the button array that I've got down here, this either changes from playing single notes or into multiple notes, chords, and then we've got different varieties of chords that we can play as well. You've got a 5-octave range on it, so you've got a lot of notes to play with, but again, it's all done off of the joystick. The joystick is velocity sensitive, which means the quicker that I move it, the louder the note, the softer that I move it, the quieter the note, but we can switch that dynamic off as well. So if you've got someone who's got limited motion range or very excessive motion and range, you still want them to be successful when they're making music. So that's all done within the settings itself. It connects to PC, Android, Mac, or iOS. And we have an online resources hub called Backstage, which I'll dig into a little bit more later on. But within that Backstage area, you have ready-made projects and backing tracks to use along with Composer for all of those different platforms as well. It's made in the UK, so that was a big thing for us when we were setting the business up as well. So we're a Derby-based business, and this is actually manufactured just down the road from us in Derby as well. So it was trying to make it into kind of a Derbyshire success story in that sense. But importantly as well, it's adaptable to different needs. So you've got the RAM mount on the bottom, which means that if someone can't hold it in their hands, because it is designed as a handheld instrument, they can attach it to whatever service they want. But also as well, this topper here, this can be pulled off and this can be replaced with any preference that a young person might have. We've worked a lot with wheelchair users over the past 20 years. A lot of them have a preference for the type of topper that they have on their wheelchair joystick themselves. So you can just simply pull the top off, put a golf ball on top of it, put a T-bar on top of it, whatever their preference is, then they'll be able to use it with that as well. But there's other bits to it too. So this is the controller part, and those of you that are keen-eyed have probably noticed that there's a coloured donut round the outside as well, which has some arrows on it. And this was the next part of the puzzle that we kind of wanted to try to fix for people. Was great that we've got a music controller that allows them to control any sound that they choose to, connect it to an iPad, GarageBand, connect it to Bandlab on a PC. They can choose whatever sound they want to play. But actually, what if they want to dig into notation as well? Because music notation is notoriously quite complicated and unfortunately shuts a lot of young people out as well because of the complexity and level of understanding that they need for standard notation. So then fast forward on, we came up with this concept called Arrownotes. And Arrownotes is our accessible notation that works alongside Composer. So the idea being is that because Composer is a directionally based instrument, i.e. I move and it plays a musical note from the chosen scale that I've set the controller to. Worth mentioning that by default, it auto loads into C major, because a lot of young people are learning in C major to start with, and there's a lot of really good resourcing out there that is C major focused as well. You can tune the instrument or the controller to whatever major minor scale that you want to as well. But because it's directionally based, we kind of realized that we could take standard notation and add a couple of extra levels before standard notation to help people understand it. So the way that Arrownotes works is I start off with a system of colors, shapes and directions. And it's really just as simple as if you can follow and match, then you can play and perform. Within Backstage, we have a whole library of Arrownotes repertoire that's ready to use. And that starts at level 1, which you're looking at on the left-hand side of the slide at the moment. But then it progresses through to level 2, which is in the middle of the screen. And then we progress on to level 3, which is on the right-hand side of the screen. With level 2, what we're starting to do is just to introduce a little bit of note architecture in there. And there's a central stave line, pitch line for people to work out. And then when we move on to level 3, we're basically just putting the colors and the arrows onto a standard stave. But again, you've still got the familiarity from what you've learned from level 1 and level 2 to utilize as well. I don't know if anyone on the call uses BBC 10 pieces at all within their work. We work with the BBC to transpose their current repertoire into level 1 and level 2. BBC 10 pieces is fantastic. We've used it a lot in our own education work. The problem with it is, though, is that it's only put out in standard notation form. So you already have to have quite a high level of understanding to be able to use it. Obviously, what we do is working with the BBC is we just basically transpose not all of the repertoire. We kind of cherry pick out the most favorite parts. But the really good thing about this from a group performance perspective is it means you can have a completely mixed ability group all playing exactly the same piece of music. And that really kind of drills into the inclusivity of what music should be about as well. And the fact that you can have mixed ability groups playing with one another, as opposed to disabled musicians only playing with disabled musicians and non-disabled musicians only playing with non-disabled musicians as well. So the last piece of the puzzle, and Nick's mentioned it quite a few times as well, is wraparound resources. I think, you know, if you look at Cosmo and the great wraparound resources that they have, this is what we're trying to do as well. If you've got something that you feel is useful to a community, but you're not giving them the resourcing to then be able to use it effectively, you've kind of only answered half of the problem. So Backstage is our online resource area. Within that, you get access to the Arrownotes library. And within the library, there's a whole collection of different repertoire within there, ranging from classical stuff all the way through to modern repertoire as well. So there's kind of something in there for everyone. They should be able to find something that they like, and it spreads across the levels as well. So we've got repertoire in level 1, but then you get the same repertoire in level 2, level 3, and level 4 as well. So there is the ability to progress should students wish to, and if you want to progress them and push them a little bit more as well, you can do. I'm just going to take a sip of water. But then importantly, what we also have as well is we have a whole collection of ready-made music projects, or backing tracks, if you want to call them that. Simply, all you do is take Composer, connect it to one of these sessions, and these sessions come in iOS format. So we have ready-made backing track projects for GarageBand. So we would suggest accessing that from the iOS device that you're going to use, but then it opens up a fully formed project and you don't have to worry about setting anything up. You just need to connect and play basically. But then if you're not using an iOS device, we also have exactly the same projects for macOS GarageBand. But then if you're on a PC device as well, we set them up in Bandlab too. And for those of you that maybe are a little bit more familiar with music technology and digital audio workstations, we've also got Ableton, Logic, Cubase, and some of the more known professional titles coming as well. So really it's about meeting you where you're at, and you can choose to use whatever you want. Within that, within Backstage as well, you also get music activity packs. So these are classroom ready packs based around different genres of digital music. Some of them are very send focused. So we use Widget a lot in the resourcing that we make. Again, those of you that are working in inclusion and accessibility, Widget is probably something that you're familiar with. But then we go right through to, we have mainstream offering stuff in there as well. So there is actually resourcing in there that's relevant for Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4, and Upper Key Stage 2 as well for mainstream settings. And then the last little bit, what if I can't remember how to do something? You get training videos, you get help PDFs in there as well. And what we also do with every purchase is we bundle a 20 to 30 minute online training. So once you've bought it and the kit's arrived with you, we try to book that in as soon as possible, because then it means we can be really specific towards your setting and the way that you want to use it. And ultimately, we just want everyone to be as successful with Composer, Arrownotes, and Backstage as possible. So therefore, getting the 20, 30 minutes in early means it sets you off in the right direction. But we don't just go away at that point in time. You know, if you find after a couple of weeks there's some more questions, we're always on hand to answer those as well. And then just to show you kind of like how Arrownotes could work within a setting, this is basically an extract of Pachelbel's Bell's Canon. I apologise to any cello players on the call at the moment. They're probably sick to death of Pachelbel's, but it's always a good one because it's a good litmus test for most people. But obviously Pachelbel's is for 4 players. I've just kind of like highlighted the player 1 and player 4 parts from here. You might be wondering, well, what are the little coloured boxes next to where it says composer player 1 and composer player 4? That's to do with the octave settings on the instrument itself, sorry, the controller itself. So for me, if I was player 1, I would just match my colours at the bottom here to whatever the score line is that I was following. And if I was composer player 4, again, I would just match my color settings so that they're the same here. We have pre-prepared tracks already that you would connect to, which have all of the violin and cello instruments already selected to go. If you didn't want to do it kind of like in more of an ensemble setting, but you actually just wanted to do singular one-to-one work with people as well, then you might choose, for example, some of the pentatonic scale games that we've got as well. These are all downloadable as PowerPoint resourcings as well, so they're customizable, and you get blank resourcing for you to use with Arrownotes as well. The idea being that you and your students can then actually start composing your own music as opposed to just replaying existing repertoire that's out there. So just to recap, so it's an inclusive music toolkit. You kind of get 3 parts to it. You get the music controller, you get access to the Arrownotes notation and the repertoire library, and then you get a Backstage account which has all of those pre-prepared resourcing on there. And once I've finished sharing this PowerPoint, I'll just share my screen and just give a really quick whistle-stop tour of the website resourcing that's on there as well. We believe it's good value. The classroom pack, which is 1 controller with the library and the Backstage area, that starts at £299. We do multi-pack versions of this as well, which come in at a discounted price. It roughly equates to you buy 5 controllers, but you only pay for 4 of them. And then our most popular package that we sell into music services and schools at the moment is called our ensemble pack. And with the ensemble pack, it comes with 5 controllers, 5 RAM mounts, and then that comes in a big hard case as well. I can share pricings with people, or probably better to speak to Jack or Nick at Norman's, and they'll obviously be able to fill you in as well. So before I just make some noise and show you how Composer works quickly, does anyone have any questions at all at this point? I'm going to take stony silence as a no, we're good to get playing. Good. Okay. So let me stop sharing my screen here. Right. So what hopefully should now happen is thumbs up, say yes. Okay, I'm going to take that as a yes. So the way that Composer works, as I mentioned, it's directionally based. So the idea being is that I move the joystick. So the quicker that I move the joystick will give me dynamics if I've got it switched on. So, but as I mentioned, we can switch that off. So it doesn't matter how soft or quickly I move the note, we still get the same note volume coming out. And then all I'm doing is I'm basically following this system of arrows to play a scale. So this is tuned into C major at the moment. So if I wanted to play a C major scale, it's as simple as that. I can go down in the octave register. So that's the lowest note that I can play. And then I can go up in the register as well. So that's the highest note that I can play. And then I've got actually all of those octaves in between as well. Currently at the moment, I'm actually just connected to one of the Bandlab projects online. So what we try to do with the resourcing is that if you don't want to install software locally onto machines, which we appreciate in classrooms and education settings can be a real headache. We've been there ourselves and fallen at the hurdle, unfortunately. So what we've also tried to do is, as well as giving you resourcing that you can open in GarageBand and other said software titles if you've got them, if you don't have them, but you've got an internet connection, then actually we're big advocates of Bandlab. We use it a lot. You do need a Bandlab account to be able to access the resourcing, but then what you get is you get loads of pre-prepared Bandlab sessions ready to go. This is just one of them, for example, which we call the composer instruments. This is just a collection of different instruments. And once I'm connected, and that can either be via Bluetooth, which I am connected to my Mac at the moment via Bluetooth, or if I don't want to use it, if I'm not comfortable with Bluetooth, it comes provided with a USB cable as well. Not this one, this is my one, but you get a black one in the box with it as well. It is just simply a case of connecting the controller to any device. That can be an iOS device, that can be a tablet, as long as you've got the right connector to go with it, or just directly into a PC. And then once you're connected, you can just play, but you can choose different instruments just by simply selecting the next track that's along. You can see already this is a great way of young people being able to explore a whole wealth of different sounds that they don't necessarily have access to, nor have the knowledge or necessarily the dexterity to be able to play those particular instruments as well. If I go back to a piano though, because most people understand this sound, single notes at the moment, but if I push this button here, this is going to switch chord mode on for me. So now I'm just playing a triad, but I'm only using one finger to be able to do that. And I've got all of the triads within that particular scale that I'm playing. I've got some sustain on here as well. So note will only last as long as I keep my finger engaged on the joystick. But if I now push the sustain button, you can see it's a nice way to get a cluster in there and a little bit of musical vocabulary going. Equally, sustain still works with the chord mode. And then these two bottoms below here, these are just varying the style of chord that I'm playing now. Importantly though, for young people, they don't need to get bogged down necessarily in the theory of what the chord is and where the fingering position is. They just need to know that when they have chord buttons on, it sounds like this. And if they want to add a little bit of variety in, so this is a ninth, this is a sorry, that was a seventh, this is a ninth, and then this is an 11th, and then I've just got inversions here. So at the moment, root at the bottom with the C, and now if I push that, that's the first inversion, so that's now with the E at the bottom, and then if I push it again, that's the second inversion, so that's just the G at the bottom, and then I'm back to there as well. So again, if you want to dig into the rudiments of what's going on from a musicality perspective with young people, you can do, or you can just ignore all of that, just connect to a project, start exploring some sounds and start playing straight away. So I think that's probably enough of me playing on there. The only other little bit that I just want to show you before we pass over for some questions is we'll just have a quick dig into Backstage. So let me just go here. Okay, that's not the one that I want. Excuse me a second. Right, I have to do it this way. I apologize, we might get an infinity screen now because I want to jump about a little bit, but here we go. Right, so this is Backstage. So this is the classroom resources area, particularly within it. And it's just a simple dashboard that you navigate around, basically. So, you know, I can jump into the Arrownotes library, and then you can see here we've got activities and games, help sheets, and then level 1, level 2, level 3 repertoire to dig through. But then also as well, these are the pre-prepared projects that I was talking about. So if you are using GarageBand, obviously on iOS, you would access it from here. With these ones, we definitely recommend accessing these from the device that you're going to use it on, because otherwise you'd have to download it, transfer it to the device and then open it, which just seems like a headache. So obviously if you access it from the iPad that you're on, it would just literally be a case of clicking on this, that little icon there. And if you hit the download button, it will download to the iOS device. You just open it up from the files and it'll open up a fully populated project. If I just show you how it would work from Bandlab's perspective, because then this is all within the cloud and there's no installation necessary whatsoever. I would hit on Bandlab Starter Project. All of these projects that you see here are actually made with commercial, made with audio from our commercial record label. So as I mentioned before, myself and Si have worked in the music industry for a long time, and some of that has been as songwriters and producers. So we still actually make content for people like Universal and some other big clients as well. where we're quite fortunate is that they allow us to use that audio content that we make for them within education work as well. So all of the stuff that's on here is commercially available. Some of it's actually been quite successful in the charts as well on Billboard and stuff. But simply, let's say we wanted to work in A major today, I would click on this project here, and then all I need to do is I need to hit this fork button. And what fork does is it automatically pushes me to my Bandlab account. All I then need to do is hit the studio button here. You do need to give it a little bit of time to build this in the background because obviously it's internet based. If you've got a fast internet connection, it doesn't take very long. If your internet connection is a little bit slower, you may just want to open this up and leave it for like 20-30 seconds so that it can build it in the background. But once you're there, this is it, and you've got a fully prepared project that you can use. But also what we always do with all of our projects is we add an extra couple of empty instrument channels on the bottom. So the idea could be from a young person's perspective, they select a backing track that they want to use, they choose one of the instruments within here or add another instrument if they're comfortable doing that. And then they would choose an Arrownotes activity. That might be the pentatonic one that we looked at really quickly, or it might be a known repertoire piece in the same key that they just want to jam along with. And then they're good to go. They can just start playing along basically. So that's kind of it. So, you know, just to recap, 3 things: controller, backstage area, and the notation system that goes along with it as well. You get the online training that's good to go with it as well. So does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask at all?
Owen, just a matter of minute, can you see the chat on the right-hand side of your screen where there's some questions being asked? Or
I can have a look now.
because otherwise I can read them to you or I can answer some myself.
I tried last year playing Paco Wells Cannon. Oh, someone else was scarred by Paco Wells Cannons. Sorry about that. Thank you very much. No, so no ongoing subscription charge for Backstage, and it's an evergreen funnel as well. So what that means is once you're in there, we're adding content to it monthly, so there's always new stuff to revisit. As I say, we've got a bit of a backlog with some of the more quote unquote professional software titles out there that we're making for things like Ableton and Cubase and Logic. But from an educator's perspective, it actually means that you've got a platform that is relevant for the client or for the people that you're working with at that time. Can you use Composer as a standalone? No. So Composer doesn't generate any sound itself. It is a controller. So you must connect it to a sound source to be able to play that. But what we've tried to do is you can connect it to anything that accepts a MIDI signal. So it will work PC, Android, iOS, Mac OS. It doesn't really care. You can plug it into a modular rig as well. If you really wanted to go that deep into sound design, it will allow you to do all of those things as well. Can you use the joystick as a mouse cursor? So really good question. It is something that we have worked on, and we do have that functionality on the prototype. It's just a cost implication for us at the moment. Making hardware is very expensive. Actually then trying to get a multifunctional piece of firmware that allows you to have different hierarchical levels on it becomes very expensive very quickly. So yes, we do have the ability to do it. It's just a matter of us now getting a bit more money in the bank to be able to import that type of thing onto it. But where we wanted to go with Composer, would become a singular entry point for a student into their digital world, not just from a music perspective, but also, you know, we're very one of the ladies that works with us, Jess, she's a wheelchair user with cerebral palsy, and she uses controller for her music career, which is now going very successfully. But we always joke with Jess because we say that we need to get the QWERTY and mouseboard functionality implemented sooner rather than later, so that she can start chasing promoters to get paid for the gigs that she's doing and send emails. So yes, it's on our radar to make that happen, but I can't give you a time scale at the moment as to when that may happen. Yes, it does work with UStudio and Chiranga. We're actually just making, well, this week we're due to send over a finished unit of work for Chiranga. So that will be appearing in UStudio very quickly. Also, as I mentioned, one of the other sides of the company is we make commercial audio. We're actually putting our commercial audio sound packs into Chiranga as well, UStudio specifically as well. So that will go in there too. And then, yep, figure notes. So I would say figure notes is great, but obviously it's not instrument specific. So if that's the route that works for you, I would suggest sticking with it. But you could essentially use figure notes with Composer at the same time, should you choose to. It would just be a case of sticking the notes onto it. These actually come off, these collars. So just worth mentioning, that's not fixed on there. The reason these come off is because we have a blank one that looks like that, but then everyone also gets a C major one that goes with it as well. So I don't know if you can see on there, that's actually got some letters on it too. The idea being is that this just pulls off, pretty robust. We've manufactured them so they're not going to rip. That one pulls off. It might be specifically today that you want to work in C major and you want them to start to learn the notes as they're going along as well. So that would drop on. Unfortunately, again, it just became too cost prohibitive for us to come up with all of the major minor scale ones. So we decided to stop at C major. But what you do get on Backstage is you get a major minor scale booklet that you can download and use, and basically it just puts each of those arrows, and if we're working in E major today, you can bring that up on the screen, and then you know exactly, right, if we're using a red up arrow, that's the E note. If we're using, like, you know, and then all of the different degrees of the scale as you're going around from there. Have I missed any questions? Because I have a habit of doing that as well, so I don't think so.
No, I think that's absolutely brilliant, Owen. I think you've answered all the questions there. Just from my point of view, and working in the classroom for many years, for any of you out there that oversee or teach BTEC or GCSE music, which I'd imagine is quite a few of you, because one of the questions, a good question was there, you know, can it use it as a standalone? Now, if you could imagine that linked to GarageBand, Bandlab, etc., any DAW, a student of any ability can actually achieve performance and composition being recorded. So even a live performance within a group, that sort of element of the syllabus, they could actually improvise, play anything they wanted to with Composer, and it could be recorded with, sort of, say, you've got there with the Bandlab technology, and also Owen and Eva both mentioned about how it's linking to iPads and tablets. Again, the other thing is, just imagine it when you actually display it on the main screen of a classroom. It becomes both of them, Cosmo and Digit and Composer, they become fully immersive as well. So it becomes a huge classroom, wonderful piece of technology. Like I said, if there's any other questions coming on, we can always just email us or anything like that. But Nick, finally today,
Nick, quickly, I can see that James has got his hand raised. James, if you unmute, you can ask a question if you'd like.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Apologies if this is repetitive because I had to join late. The inversion and octave buttons, can they be disabled, and are they preset, or can you change what their functions are?
Yeah. So the buttons on themselves, they're preset, but it's a great question because we do a lot of work in autistic settings as well, where obviously flashing lights can be a distraction. So actually what you can do is you can set the unit up however you want it. So let's say I wanted to set it up into chords, first inversion in a seventh, for example. But now if I push those three buttons here, doesn't necessarily have to be those three, you'll now notice the lights are off, but the joystick still plays a sound at that point in time. So what that also means is that if anyone needs to, they can use that as a rest as well. So quite a lot of the young people that we work with, they don't have the strength to hold their hand above the joystick itself. So we actually place their hand on there and then let them rest that down. If they're in a wheelchair as well, what we will always do is we will move their wheelchair joystick out of the way, and we will put Composer directly where they're used to having it. So then they've got all of that muscle memory and familiarity. They're just using it to be musical rather than moving themselves around.
Right. So yeah, so you don't change the buttons, but you can turn them all off. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
and
James.
then just worth mentioning, James, because this might be for you as well, like these two top buttons here, these are MIDI mappable as well. So these are putting out MIDI CC. So if you did want to map it to something within a piece of software, you could do that as well. Could be switching a reverb on and off, or it might be a filter. And also as well, just for anyone that does understand the world of MIDI, the joystick is also putting out MIDI data as well as note data. So there's a lot more that you can do with it if you want to get under the hood from a MIDI controller's perspective and not just a MIDI playing perspective.
Thank you, Owain. So is it any other questions regarding the composer and digit music? I must admit, watching that, a little bit of my mind was thinking, can we get it to control Pickford to dive the right way in a penalty tonight?
I'll leave you to work that one out, Nick.
Finally today, everyone, I'd like to introduce you to Kate from Time, the technology in music education company. Kate's there. She's going to basically just talk to you about sort of the great awareness in the classroom and education and technology, and she's connects with other manufacturers and designers, etc. So, Kate, please.
Hi, thanks, Nick. And yeah, that's quite something to follow, actually, from Cosmo and Digit there. Fantastic presentation. And as Time, it's always great to hear more about the world of accessible and adaptive digital instruments. I'm just going to share my screen and do a whistle-stop tour of what we do. Is that sharing a PowerPoint? Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
That's a relief. And then let's see if I can make that full screen. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So Time is an association of music educators, music industry organisations, and we were established about 5 years ago by David Ward, who I'm afraid passed away last year. But it's run by myself and Richard Llewellyn. We support music education. We've advised the Department for Education on the inclusion of music technology. And we continue to do that with supporting music technology in the Capital Grant Fund that's coming up. We offer corporate membership and free membership. So if you go to our website, you can sign up and there's more resources there available for free membership. We have 3 main areas, which are hubs, schools and teachers, and send, access and inclusion. That's very important to us, is make sure that people are aware of all the different music technology products out there that can broaden access to music education for all young people. And we also work with community music education groups, as they are particularly they use music technology as the center of their work with recording, exploring diverse genres. So it's important that we also connect that community of informal music educators. Just some of the music technologies available, and you've seen some in detail today, but there are quite a lot out there and you can find out more about them on our website. The Arcana Strum on the left there is a guitar emulator, and it's a haptic guitar experience. So the handle on the right hand side emulates playing through the strings and you feel that feedback, and on the left hand side you can play the chords, and it's got lots and lots of different adaptations, brilliant for one-to-one work or in ensembles. And I won't go through Composer and Digit because they've been done very well. So we have the Orba, which is by a company called Artifom, small handheld synthesizer, built-in speaker, brilliant for just instant music making. The Oddball, this is a solid silicon bouncy ball, pretty much can't be broken, links to an app, fantastic sounds in that, and you can also record on it. And we've seen this used in special schools recently to great effect. So yeah, the Oddball, brilliant thing. You can buy up to 3 at a time. And then Soundbeam 6. So a lot of us have used Soundbeam over the years, and I know that people say, oh, there's a Soundbeam in the cupboard, but Soundbeam 6 is is a real evolution of the product. And if you do have a Soundbeam 6 stuck in the cupboard, I know Adrian at Soundbeam is happy to hear from you to try and get that working. Other products include the Corda by Artifon, which is very similar to the Orba, but stretched out, and it also has an arpeggiator on one side. Again, different products suit different needs. Doubler microphone and voice to MIDI software. So this is a fantastic bit of equipment. If you can hum or sing, that could be translated into any instrument. And then the Moog Theremin, it's been around a while. It's certainly an evolution from the original theremin. Fantastic instrument, touch-free, brilliant bass sounds on it. And the Third Avenue Rainbow Piano, which you can buy from Norman's. Brilliant soft touch, soft keys, roll out, take anywhere, built-in speaker, runs off batteries, brilliant for SEND settings. And likewise, the Third Avenue roll-out drum kit, which I love because you can play with your hands as well as the sticks, and it sounds great. So that's a really whistle-stop tour of some of the technology that's available. If you come to www.Time Music UK, you can see more. You can sign up for free membership. We have a shop tab there, and you can go and look for some of these inclusive adaptive digital instruments. And if you are interested in trying some of these yourself, we have our table of tech. So do get in touch. We've got about 30 different instruments that we can bring to your setting for you to try. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, everyone. Did anyone have any questions for Kate at all? No. Like I said, you know where we are. You've got myself and Jack here. So if you've got any questions or you think of something, you've got the contact details from Owain and Eva. So I'd just like to say, firstly, for Norman's first ever webinar, a huge thank you to you all. We will be doing others. Now we know it all works. And say a great thank you to Eva, Owain and Kate, and to say, and my colleague Delphine, who's put this all together and made sure I didn't buffer. So once again, thank you everyone, and hope to see you all soon.
Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.